am in the business completely, like immersive, okay, in the business. And I think I've had my milestones to it, and I'm very proud about it. So initially, until I became a part of the business, we were only selling to traders, okay? We were not selling directly to brands and corporates. That was on my dad's vision agenda that, okay, you know, we want to do this. It was 2 weeks ago that I went to Delhi to make a presentation for this brand, and they only do hand-woven fabrics and not auto-loom fabrics, because apparently that's their policy. So we go there, and he says, okay, I'm not interested in seeing auto loom fabrics. And we're like, okay, sir, since we've come here, let us just show you, you know, what it is. And as soon as he saw the fabrics, one side he's telling us that, okay, I do only hand looms, and the other side he's calling all his designers down that, okay, some interesting fabrics have come, why don't you come down? The entire team got so excited seeing my product, they actually, you know, they requested us to send them samples, and they have decided to do a meeting with the management in order to change the policy. And I was like, wow, this brand has like 300 stores in India, and you know, seeing my product, they're actually thinking about changing their policies. So I think it was a very good feeling. Again, very recently, I went for a presentation in Surat. Now these guys are on top of their game, and you know, I went to show my product. So we go there, we show the fabrics, and then we get no reaction, and then suddenly again he calls his entire design team, and there are like 20 people around our fabrics, and we're wondering what is happening. And after half an hour, the owner comes to us and he says, okay, I want a monopoly. You know, so now you tell me how much meters do you want in order to give me a monopoly. And we put a number across, and he immediately agreed. And we were like, wow, like this is insane. And it is a very good feeling when your parents feel like that about you, because like I said, I think 4 years back, everyone, including my parents, told me that I'm not consistent and I'm not putting enough. So to come from that state to a place like this right now, I think it's beautiful. I think the Consultations is what I feel was the game changer for me. So I think specifically about Antano, he has a very different way to look at things. I don't know where he gets this from, but like literally there are times where I think, okay, he would probably look at it like this, and then when I actually discuss it with him, it's some third solution that he's come up with. And imagine, he's not from my industry, he doesn't know, you know, a typical manufacturing B2B textile, it's not his scene, but he still knows what it is, and he just knows that the right area that number one I need to, you know, fix in myself, or I need to up my game. And secondly, I think he has a very clear judgments about things, or I really don't know, if you ask me this question that what does he do, but I think he has a very interesting point when it comes. And over these months, over these years, I have now realized that if he's saying something, just listen. Don't, like, I've done so much of back and forth, no, this, let me try this, and then after 3 months I'll be like, okay, you were right. So now I've become very smart. Now if he says something, I will just do it, because I know, you know, it is the right thing to do. So I think my journey is very interesting, because I started with something and then it ended up in something totally different. So in Chennai, I was there for 6 days, and I was like really focused, you know, especially on what Harini was teaching. I wanted to get all of it like just correctly. So I was like the first bencher again, paying all my attention to it. And I was very happy. So I had this plan. I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and, you know, combine NLP with image consulting and create something really beautiful out of it. And yeah, and then I think Antano gave me and then I met Antano for a post-consultation. So in the post-consultation, he kind of hinted me that, okay, image consulting, nah, I think you should look at something different. And I was like, no, like I was so attached to it. I was so passionate about it. And then I was like, no, image consulting. And then, I'll help people with depression and, XYZ using NLP. He's like, that is also not for you. And I was like, no, that is for me. That is what I want to do. So then he gives me a project to work with 100 people. And I'm like super excited. I made a book and, everything like case 1, case 2. So I think I worked with about 40 people. And then one day I called him and I was like, I don't think this is for me. And he was like, see, he's like, okay, congratulations now that you know. So then the journey started as to what I want to do.
Even though she said that she's coming here to learn NLP, our attention was on how do we make her an entrepreneur? How do we help her with installations like the ones that I spoke about, where you're generalizing things for her from her life experiences. Our attention was on what are the installations and capabilities we need to build for her that will transform her into an entrepreneur. I remember one of the objections she had towards that, when we consciously discussed about it. There are some things we consciously discuss, there are some we just do and then discuss much later. But once when we discussed with her about becoming an entrepreneur, she said she's happy as a freelancer, she's happy doing work that is less stressful, where where she can meet some clients, get some results, and then in her own words, she wants her Shantiwala time. And so Harini and I decided to do installations for her that will make it easier to do business, to be an entrepreneur and still have her Shantiwala time. And some of those things include, how do you become intuitive, how do you become more effective, how do you become more efficient, how do you use creativity to do something that would take a long time to do it in shorter time, how do you leverage your relationships in order for you to do things quicker and faster, because you don't create time by doing the same thing again and again. You create more time for yourself by doing things differently, by doing things creatively, by doing things more effectively, by leveraging people around you. That's what creates time. And when you have time and you can do business, that's a great space to be in. So we had to, in order for us to handle an objection of, I don't want to be an entrepreneur who is in the business and always occupied, because in her mind there were certain businesses that are simple and easy to do, and then there's certain businesses that are, in fact, when once she spoke about her father's business, and she said it's like a huge mountain, it's like a huge thing and too big for me. Now that's an accurate intuition for her, because at the point when she came for the program, with the experiences she's had in life and with the skills she had developed at that point in time, if she were to go and pursue a business like that, it's a big thing. So how do you make it simple for her? What capabilities do you develop? How do you leverage the experiences she's already had so that when she steps into her father's business or starts any other business in the future, it looks simpler, it is easier for her to do?
And I had decided to be a part of my family business. So again, I had done my family business for 2 years, but it was just not me. So this was my second entry. And see, it's not easy, right? I mean, you've done it and then you didn't like it and you're coming back again. Everyone there is the same. So you're definitely gonna get looks, and I did a business and it didn't work out well. So it was quite a thing for me, but I was like, no, this is what it is, and I have a different level of maturity now, and let's do this. So that's how I took the decision of entering my family business.
I was thrilled when Sonika told me over a consultation that she's going to go back to her family business. And I was like, yes, the installations are working, because from a girl who saw that as a big mountain, if now she's ready to go and she feels ready to go back into the business, that's a great thing. However, we also had to equip her to make sure she succeeds when she's inside the family business, because she had the experience of going there once and then doing something and then she quit. She even felt guilty about it. And the most important thing is the perception of the people in the business when she's entering her business again. I've seen a lot of family businesses where the second generation goes in and they try to do things differently. Sometimes they may get the support from the first generation, sometimes they don't. And even if they get the support from the first generation, it's one thing to have authority, it's another thing to have respect. You know, respect comes from the team when you add value, when you do something that clearly is making a difference to the growth of the business. So during the consultation, I asked Sonika, I said, okay, you're going to go back in there, and what are the chances that people are going to perceive you as this kid who's come back and, you know, the father's daughter? And she said, it's highly likely. And I said, okay, so what's your plan of action to change that? And she said she's going to go to the factory and make sure that production timings are all met, and because she likes to keep time and she comes from that type of thinking. And I told her, well, before you do that, is it possible that you create value, that you bring in some business into the organization, that you increase the production that happens inside of your factory? And she said, but I have a hesitation to sell. I don't like to go out and meet people. And that was an opportunity for her to evolve, because there's a difference between selling and an entrepreneur selling. It's not the same thing. See, when a salesperson who has all the processes set goes and sells, he or she is just bringing business to the company. But when an entrepreneur is doing sales, they're innovating, they're understanding the psychology of the market. It's the process of creativity, it's creation, right? And to me, Sonika learning how to sell also implied that she can be creative about taking her business to a completely different league. And over a period of months, Sonika went, she made her deals, she innovated a new product, she created something that combined her unique strength of her company, and what was not yet provided in the market. And she might have guessed it before, or she might have thought of other things, but she could have never come to this conclusion, this product, if she didn't go and personally close the deal and have the exposure to meeting the client and understand what the client wanted, that he necessarily didn't say it with words. And that's the difference between a salesperson and an entrepreneur selling. And for the next 6 months, we focused on how to help Sonika improve her ability to calibrate, to understand what a person is thinking even if they don't say it, so that she can become amazing at closing deals and she can add value to the business. And today it's interesting because she's changed the culture of the organization, you know, from, you know, the first generation and second generation, it's now one team. It's like there's the merge that is happening, and people are opening up to her more and sometimes just leaving everything to the way she is doing. And this new product line she's developed has become a platform where they can test new ideas. From working on one channel, in her product line, she's now selling through 4 different channels, including exports. And whatever is working in her channel, in her product line, they're able to bring it back to what the company was already doing for 30 years. So in a year's time, she's innovated. She's got from one channel, she's gone to 4 channels. From having 5 clients who are providing 80% of the income, she's brought in 9 additional clients of such large volume. And the beginning of all of that is being able to go out there, connect with the customer, understand what they don't yet know that they will buy, and then being able to provide that.
So I think April, May, June, 3 months I went to office, and then that was up in July. So one thing that I was working on was I cannot sell. So as a person, I'm someone who would not really go and approach, you know, the other. I would rather work on my product, make my product awesome, and then people coming in. And I remember discussing this with Antano, and he's like, I'm not telling you to change who you are. The whole idea is to have another layer to it, maybe a different personality to it. And that was kind of comforting because I had objection to changing. I was very happy with the way I am. But the whole idea of having another element to you, I think that's what, it worked for me. It was making sense. So I accepted what he was saying, but now we had to figure how I sell. And I had no clue about it. And I remember coming for another program, like this is after the program where I said I cannot sell and I need to sell. There I was 6 months later, exactly 6 months later, and I was like, I think I'm a pro at sales. I think sales is the biggest high that I have experienced in my life. I think it's a very different high, and I think every single person must make sure that they make some kind of sale in their life in order to understand what high that is.
Because that's what makes an entrepreneur. There's a difference between being a designer, being an inventor, and being an entrepreneur. You know, a designer is somebody who's seeing a problem and coming up with a unique solution. An inventor is somebody who's converting that solution that is in the mind into something physical, something tangible. And an entrepreneur is taking that and converting that into a viable, usable business. The point of transformation from the inventor to the entrepreneur happens when you can creatively express to the point that people who listen to you want what you're talking about. And that is the proof that you have invented something useful. Because you can invent something fascinating, or you can invent something fascinating and useful. How useful something is has to be validated. And a lot of times when you're bringing to the table something that wasn't there before, you have to express the full glory of what you're doing with words, with your personality. And you know, when they invented penicillin, it was a miraculous cure. Think about this, the whole world is I mean, people are dying left, right, and center. There are entire, groups of people who are quarantined and left to die because it's a terrible disease. And then this man finds penicillin, but it wasn't enough that he found it. He had to go through a journey of convincing people that, hey, I have a cure. And that is the entrepreneur's battle. You know, it's not just about inventing. It starts with inventing, but then it has to move into convincing. And the word that people commonly use for this is called sales. You know, so if you have hesitation to doing sales, forget about being an entrepreneur. You got to take your idea to the market. And it's very different when a salesperson does sales and when an entrepreneur does sales. A salesperson does sales because there's an incentive, because it's their job. An entrepreneur, when they do sales, it's a creative expression of their invention. It's looking at it from the other person's point of view and putting across why it is so important for them. When a creative person does sales, it's about setting the environment right so that things can happen by themselves. Now, when Sonika prepared herself to be able to do this, you know, everybody has their unique strength. Now, Sonika didn't have most of the limitations that people have. You know, she comes from a creative space. She has her first generation, her father backing her up. She's a happy girl. But then she had an objection to doing sales. Now, if she wasn't ready for that moment when, you know, somebody walks in and says, hey, can you do this thing that you're doing for men, for women wear? And if she wasn't ready, she would have just called her uncle or someone and said, can you deal with the client? But no one can talk about their product the way she could have, because she is the creator there. She's the entrepreneur. And that is my appeal to all entrepreneurs, is that you got to have the freedom to creatively express. And sometimes creatively expressing means being empathetic, understanding what the other person is thinking. It's not about going on a rant of, you know, this is my product and da-da-da-da-da. So that balance, you know, because a lot of times you find creative people who do great inventions lost in their own mind about their product. But you got to be able to simplify it. You got to be able to talk the language of your customer, of your consumer. Now, when I say sales, I'm not only talking about one-to-one. Sometimes it's about writing that digital ad. Sometimes it's about approving an ad agency about what should go in there and what shouldn't go in there. I mean, Steve Jobs did it. Now, you know, like I can't think of an entrepreneur who didn't do it. People think that in big companies, sales is a different function. But look at it. I mean, if you think of Apple as a big company, as long as Steve Jobs was alive, he was always in charge of the creative expression of the company. He decided who is going to be the creative agency. He decided along what are going to be their top core directives, and he always approved how their brand was positioning. It's not somebody else's job. It's the entrepreneur's job.
So I think the most important thing that I learned, you know, being associated with Antano and Harini and the UP program, to be very specific about, is the art of calibration. Okay, now slightly technical, but calibration is mainly, you look at a person, you look at their body language, you look at the micro details of how they are reacting to things, and you take a judgment as to, okay, this is what it means. So I think one of the most strongest skills that I have taken from the program is calibration. Because say when we are in a meeting or anything, I just know what that person wants. Even before that a lot of times, even before that person even talks about that, I just know. And I didn't really realize that I have this added skill until I saw other people not getting what that person means. And I was like, whoa, something is different about me. So I think calibration, and trust me, it is the most important skill, maybe with human beings or with animals, or I think it's a survival skill that you need. You can, especially in the type of field that I am in, a customer comes to me saying that, okay, this is the type of thing that I want. Now, based on that one thing, I create a sample set of 50 designs, 100 designs, and I present to him. So, I really need to know what that person, a lot of times, people say that, okay, I want this, but they actually want something else. So, I think that clarity, that thing about, okay, he's saying this, but he actually likes this, or he's saying he wants these colors, but actually the colors that he's choosing are neutral colors. So I think that skill of calibration has really helped me do what I'm doing right now. Another very interesting thing that happened with me was, it's very funny. So I used to tell Antano that all my 6 senses have have been awakened, or it's like gone to the next level. I could hear a little more. I started feeling things, in a much different manner. I was always a nature person, but the way I started enjoying nature was very different, somehow after the program. I think I'm the type of person who really enjoys, small things. I'll look at a tree and I'll be like, okay, I can see 50 shades of green. So I think I started enjoying life a lot more. And I think when you enjoy life, when you're happy, especially when it comes to creativity, I think you come up with a much more interesting skill set, much more interesting product when you're happy as a person.
So for 30 years, the family business has been focusing on selling to traders. And they always wanted to sell to brands and get into exports, but they didn't. And when Sonika introduced her new product line, it was a mindset shift for the entire organization, because she was showing experienced people how her existing factory can be used in a different way. In fact, she talks about how some key people quit and others had to be realigned, and Sonika really had to evolve her personality to be able to get people aligned in that direction, because it's a mindset shift even for the first generation. And the interesting thing is how that opened doorways for what they haven't done for 30 years.
I was dreaming about my company and I was saying, oh my God, I've fallen in love with this. I think it's the best feeling when you're happy with what you're doing, when you're, what they say is to be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Trust me, no one knows that better than me, because I have done so much, with the hope of, okay, this is going to be my thing. And after trying so many different things to finally be at the right place, I think that's the biggest joy that one can have.
So some of you may think, what's the big deal? She's born in a business family, and she joined her father's business, and she made like $500,000 sales in the first year. It's normal, it's to be expected. Well, here's why it's a big thing. It's a big thing because from thinking about leading a career in change work and image, and looking at certain businesses as a big mountain, internally she went through a transformation and development of skills that allowed her to feel at ease coming back to her family business. It's a big thing because 80% of family businesses struggle with the first generation and second generation not being in an alignment. And rightly so, because the first generation has a certain way of doing it. The second generation has seen how things can be optimized, how things can be made easier and quicker. But then they don't have the experience that is necessary to go back and humbly learn from their fathers or the first generation's experience, and then to prove themselves. With Sonika, what she developed is capabilities to assimilate from geniuses around her. If her father was able to build this business all by himself in 30 years, then there is certain mastery that he brings to it. And a lot of second generation doesn't necessarily learn from the first generation the way she did. And not just that, there's the concept of innovation over here. It's very easy to go and do something that's already been done in a larger scale, but that wouldn't necessarily increase your profit ratio. It wouldn't necessarily give you access to a market where there's absolutely no competition. The interesting thing about what Sonika did within 1 year is not only did she go back to her business and learn first how it is functioning from her father, she also innovated as she is over there. In the moment when the opportunity came in, she took it on and she innovated. And not only did she innovate, with innovation comes a lot of challenges. It's the innovator's dilemma all the time, because when you innovate, you have the struggle of communicating a concept that hasn't been conceived of before, not only to her customers, but also to her own family business. To the people she learned from, she now has to educate how this can be an opportunity that doesn't disrupt what is already going on and can give access to new markets. That requires entrepreneurial capabilities of the ability to communicate and shift mindsets and get people who might have been used for some time working in the same way to allow them to look at things differently. And these are things that takes time. For someone at this age to be able to develop all these skills in such a short time and implement it to create a very profitable business that is putting her on the global map, that is extraordinary. The other thing some of you might think is, so what if it happened in 1 year? Instead, if it took 3 years to arrive here, what's the big difference? And I believe there is a big difference, because when you accelerate success, it's evidence that you're breaking old patterns and penetrating new markets. And when you do that, you have higher profitability, less competition, and you can put your full attention on innovation and creating an impact in the world. With accelerated success comes more time and more money to do more meaningful things for the world. For example, Sonika is thinking about how to take some very niche luxury products that are available only for certain classes of the society and bring those fashion products to the masses at an affordable rate. She's already working on how to take ethnic culture and design and make it available in the global fabric industry. And these are things you can only do when you accelerate success.
About a year and a half ago, and then I happened to discuss it with my best friend, and she was stuck with certain limitations in her life, and like me, she's a very passionate, ambitious girl and wants to grow very big, and she happened to do the program, and now she's gotten her sister and brother-in-law to do the program. So at the end of the day, I would really want all my near and dear ones to benefit the way I am benefiting, to get what it is at the right time. I think, a lot of times it's about timing. It's about doing the right thing, taking the right decisions at the right time. And in today's journey, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, everyone wants to be the best in their game. I think the whole ball game is about time. So when you meet the right people at the right time, things change for you. And I feel very, very lucky that I met Antano and Harini just at the right time.